What's up, everybody? It is Jeff and Clarence with our friend Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL on the Twitter or the X. We talk to him every week, and we love it. Unfortunately, you're not on the ocean this time. It looks like your situation is way less relaxing, but it's great to see you again, Baldy.
Thank you. No, I did all that yesterday and New Year's Eve, so I'm in the saddle in the film room here, right where I belong.
I love it. I was watching, seeing you do some of the college stuff, which is one of my favorite things. The draft analyst stuff is probably my favorite thing to do. And I saw you talking about Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end. And it got me thinking about the Cowboys and the idea of, hey, what if Ashton Genty, the Boise State running back, is available for the Cowboys? Would they be crazy to do that? Is that an icing on the cake thing for running back? Or is he so good that it's just like, dude, pick that player?
Well, Ashton Genty, he's an elite player. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be the first back. He's going to be 1, 2, or 3. I'm sure he's going to get a first-round grade. He's an elite player. Ty Warren is ridiculous. I mean, he looks. I mean, I don't want to compare anybody to Gronk, but he's about as close to a Gronk comp as you can find. And I haven't really begun to study him. I just know what other scouts are telling me, and you know what he just did the other day in the bowl game against Boise. I mean, he's just a dominant player, and size, height, explosion. I mean, you watch him jump over people for touchdowns. I mean, he's pretty incredible.
Hey, Baldy, how you doing, man? Clarence Hill.
Hi, Clarence. Good seeing you.
I appreciate you joining us every week, and I want to piggyback just a little bit on the running backs. Draft seems so deep. You saw Scatterbo, I guess, yesterday play against Texas, and you look at the Cowboys, and Jeff and I talked about it before the show. If there's a running back there, or maybe a receiver like guy out of Missouri, for a Cowboy, is running back so deep that you can pass on maybe a Genty, and you look at guys like Scatterbo later in the draft and have to go with a receiver?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the first round here, Clarence. I think Cowboys, last week, the Philadelphia Eagles thumped them really good. And Saquon was going for 2,000, so they just pounded him in the second half. And it seems like a recurring theme, no matter who's the defensive coordinator in Dallas. And you look at these teams go to the postseason, whether it's, Jalen Carter in Philly or Chris Jones in Kansas City. I mean, you got monsters in the middle that they just ruin game plans. And the Cowboys don't have anybody like that, and haven't had anybody like that. And so I just feel like if the Cowboys want to get back to winning, 11, 12 games, they got to get better in the trenches. And Zach is going to move on, and Tyron's moved on. I mean, I know they've addressed it, but I feel like the trenches is where this team needs to go. They've been good at drafting players in those top of the round in those conditions, but defense, I feel like they need a lot of help right now.
And maybe we're putting the cart before the horse because we're talking about the players, and we don't even know who the coach is going to be. And what's the feeling around the league when you understand and what you're hearing about Mike McCarthy, the job he's done? There's reports that he could have options elsewhere, maybe Chicago, maybe New Orleans. Has he done enough for the Cowboys to bring him back? And if they don't bring him back, is there a better option out there?
Well, I always think there's a better option. You got to get the right guy. I mean, obviously, Jim Harbaugh was a great option. Sean Payton was a great option. I mean, they've turned those teams around, instantly. And so, but there's never enough good coaches. I mean, there's always a shortage. When it was a 12-team league, we didn't have enough good coaches. So coaches that can develop players, that can create a vision, that can still motivate professional athletes at this level on a daily basis, the way Harbaugh does, the way Peyton does. And I'm just starting with those guys. But, Sean McVay, there's just not enough of those guys. But if there's one of those guys out there, and I don't know if that's Mike Vrabel in his second time or Brian Flores his second time around, I mean, you'd be foolish if you were Dallas not to investigate and not to do your due diligence on all those guys. And that's not to knock Mike McCarthy, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if anybody does, but Clarence, I think you'd be foolish not to really do a thorough search to see if there's a better option out there right now.
Baldy, it sounds like I might have my answer, but I find that part of the coaching search really, really interesting. that there's going to be some really hot names this year, including Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. We're starting to see Cliff Kingsbury after what they've done in Washington, Liam Cohen, the OC in Tampa Bay. When it comes to hiring, I feel like if it's a great OC that you want, we don't know how they would be as the head coach, but you have to give them that role for them to be your OC. Are you more of a fan of taking the proven guy in charge, leadership guy, or are you a believer in, I think you're so good at that job that I'll give you the head coach job to have you do it?
It's interesting. I'm going to answer the question, but like if you go back 4 years ago, Brandon Staley was a hot name. Okay. Nick Sirianni wasn't even on anybody's radar. The Eagles lost out to Arthur Jones. They lost out to Brandon Staley. They lost out to everybody. And Nick Sirianni was just an afterthought. He was playing golf in Florida when the Eagles were like, we're 0 for 9 here. We can't even get a guy. So, and here's Nick Sirianni, got his team on the doorstep of another good postseason. He's been there every year, including a Super Bowl. So, and I'm not saying Nick is the answer, but nobody knew Nick Sirianni could do what he's doing. And he might do it a different way. Some people in Philadelphia might get ruffled by it. National media might get rough. The players respond to that guy. They just do. And so I don't know what I see Ben Johnson's creativity, in formations and plays. I see it. I know what Cliff Kingsbury's done this year. I know what he did at Texas Tech. I don't think he's a great head coach. I don't think he stand in front of the room and motivate everybody. He looks like a good coordinator to me. And that's really the answer is, are they just good coordinators or can they really lead men? Like Sean McVay can lead men. You just have to be around for 5 minutes and you go, okay, he can coach coaches. We've seen that. They all fly out of his nest. They all go be successful. He can coach players. He can adjust the roster. He can adjust the coaching roster. He's fired 2 offensive line coaches and they won a Super Bowl with one of them, but he wanted something different. So those kind of guys are few and far between, but you got to talk to them. You got to at least get a feel for what these guys. I think Brian Flores will be better, much better second time around, especially being around maybe Tomlin in Pittsburgh, around Kevin O'Connell. Like maybe you just can't beat quarterbacks up the way they did in New England and think that that's a good way to get your guy ready to play, because that's not what Harbaugh does with Justin Herbert and with the Chargers now. He loves that kid up every day, and he's injected confidence in him. He's playing better than he's ever played. So I don't know. Like you got to coach more than the quarterback. Got to coach more than the offense. There's 53 guys that got to respond to you. It's a big challenge, and one that a lot of these guys that are being mentioned, I don't know what they're like in front of a room. At least I know Mike Vrabel can stand in front of the room and get everybody's attention. I know that. I know Flores can do that. So maybe second time around for some of these guys, it might be better, like it was for Mike Shanahan. Andy Reid's been better the second time around than he was the first time. You go through the list of guys, second time around, they were pretty good.
Yeah, the caveat here is there's a logical answer and what Jerry Jones is going to do. And based on your history, understanding the Cowboys, what do you think Jerry Jones is going to do and how he's going to approach it? Because he does like experienced coach. He don't really like going with inexperienced guys. And Jason Garrett was the only one really he's gone with. That was a coordinator they promoted. So he likes the experienced guys.
Well, I think Jerry is, Jerry's 82 years old now. Like, I don't know how many good years he has left being in charge, where you're really on top of it. It's questionable, 82 for anybody, if you can really do the day-to-day business. But, I think it won't surprise me to see him blow this thing up and really GM coach. I know him and his sons are going to stay in that role, but I think he's looking to get back to winning 12 games and being a high seed in the playoffs. And I don't know if the current regime right now, the way it's structured, they can do that. But they also weren't fair to Mike McCarthy. The Eagles loaded up in March and April, and they didn't do anything. And we all said the roster was incomplete. Everybody said it. You don't have to be a football guru to know it. Like the Eagles loaded up, and here they are. And so, maybe they feel like if they load the roster up for Mike, maybe he can bring home a championship.
Baldy, you're the best. We appreciate the visit every week. Have a great day.
We all silly like the mayor.